Everyone. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome. Today we are live at Kasam Rabah. This is Gambia Students Association in Morocco. This is our second episode of the Bantaba. Assalamu alaikum. I'm here with my co-host and our able guest. Um, Without wasting much time, I will introduce myself. My name is Abdullah Y. Bojang. I'm a computer science and mathematics student on my third year, currently at Ibn Tufay University in Kenitra, Morocco. I will give chance to my co-host to introduce herself. Thank you very much. Again, we are on our second episode of the Bantaba show. Thank you all.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Abdallah, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, our honorable guest. First of all, thank you for accepting our invitation. It's indeed a great honor to have you here. And to all our viewers out there, thank you for joining us as we look forward to having a great session with you. And please do keep engaged. You can send in your comments, your questions in the comment section, and later at the end of the show, we will have a Q&A. And thank you and welcome once again, Mr. Jobati.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mr. Jabar, guys, we would love to hear Mr. Jawade, we would love to hear. We would have loved to introduce you, but we wouldn't make any justice to not let you take the pleasure and introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Madi Jobarteh. A fellow Gambian like you all. I am an advocate for human rights, for democracy, for good governance in the Gambia and beyond. Um, you know, for as long as I remember. So I'm happy to be here and great to know you have a student union in Morocco and you have such a kind of program. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. We are really glad to have you as well. Without much time, Aisha, can you please continue while I check this, please?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much for that introduction. Um, Before we dive in, I would just like to read out the topic of today. It's building a prosperous Gambia, developing the right mindset, and giving back to society. Now, before we go further, Mr. Jabat, we just want you to give us an insight like, what is Gambia really to you? How would you define Gambia? Like, when we say our home, what is a home to us? Some might say it's where I feel secured, it's where I feel accepted and everything. So the question really is, since it's the Gambia's independent today, we would like to know, what is Gambia to you?
Yeah, thank you. Just to say, first and foremost, I do not hold that the Gambia is independent today. Today is Independence Day. I hold that the Independence Day of the Gambia is April 24th. That we gained our independence in 1970. But I don't know, of course, the Gambian state and the Gambian nation as a whole observe and commemorate 18 February as Independence Day. So for me, the Gambia, that is a very uh, deep question. Certainly, if I take the Gambia as a home, yes, I would say it's home, and home is your security. Home is your identity. Home um, is yourself. Home is also your future. As they say, charity begins at home. But it is at home that also we build the character, the foundation that would come to guide and even determine what we will become in future. Um, so home is very deep, is very wide. But when we talk in terms of the Gambia, in another sense, we cannot fail to recognize the fact that it is a colony or was a colony of the British. Even before the British came, had interactions with the French, the Portuguese, and various Europeans, the Dutch, and so on. And to say, therefore, the name the Gambia on the nation state, the territorial space that we call the Gambia, is actually not our creation. Also, um, you know, that my history goes beyond the Gambia. My identity goes beyond the Gambia because we did not create the Gambia. That is, we as Gambians, we recognize the fact that because of European invasion and occupation, which eventually they formalized in Berlin, in Germany, in 1884, saw the drawing of the maps, in their scramble for Africa, and which came to define what we call today as the Gambia, and which incidentally we were born in, and we call ourselves Gambians. So that it is important to recognize that history to know where we came from and how we became to be Gambians. But then the history of the world is a history of conquest. um, the history of the Gambia, you will find many countries, societies, nations around the world have more or less similar countries, whether it's in Europe or Asia or Africa. Um, you know, we have come to dominate, conquer, and define each other. There was a time that was Mali Empire, which had control over a lot of kingdoms, and I'm sure it has its various influences on them. So that it is important to recognize that as we get to understand this Gambia. So today we have the Gambia as a result of that history. Um, you know, and incidentally, I happen to be a Pan Africanist also. And so I look forward to the creation of the United States of Africa or United Africa, in which case, are we going to maintain the Gambia as it is, Senegal, Nigeria, Congo, Angola, and so on? Or will we redefine them, to reflect our socio-cultural, political, and historical, identities, realities, and so on? All right, that would be another conversation. But I recognize that today I'm a Gambian citizen. There's no United Africa yet. Certainly, I cannot undo right now um, the Berlin conference and the fact that they drew the Gambia as it is. So this space, a friend of mine would say the colonial space, I've come to accept as my country, for which I hold legal and political documents such as birth certificate, national ID card, passport, voters card, and so on, is home. And so, what does it mean for me? It means uh, you know, um, responsibility. It means for me responsibility that it is home. Therefore, I have a responsibility to protect, to preserve this home. That my rights as a human being, my well-being as a human being, my future as a human being, would have to be first and foremost defined by this home called the Gambia. um, for which reason it further justifies my responsibility and let me say my leadership to make sure I secure the best conditions for this home, that I uh, serve the best interests of this home, that I become that citizen, that good citizen who understands that he has rights and duties to himself as a citizen, to citizens, to the Gambian nation, but also to the Gambian state to make sure that state, you know, is held accountable, that that state is checked, is monitored to make sure they deliver, they perform as per the law, as per their terms of reference. So when I say the Gambia, it means all of these things to me, um, and so um, as it is for me, it is for the rest of the citizenry Because at the end of the day, what it means for me is how do we make the Gambia a democratic, peaceful, prosperous, and a secure society for all, in which there will be no discrimination on the basis of anything, ethnicity, religion, sex or disability or age or whatever you can imagine. That there will be equality, there will be opportunity, and there will be freedom for everyone to realize his or her full potential, in order to become that meaningful, productive, constructive citizen, believing that ultimately, when we have such a society, a citizen, you know, in the largest number, it will reflect in a solid society, in a developed society. So this is what Gambia means to me.
Thank you so much, sir, for that incredible explanation. Especially considering our topic, which lead us to developing the mindset. I believe in order for us to develop a mindset about something, we need to have a definition of that particular thing. And I believe you have clearly defined what Gambia means to you, especially. So I will just allow my host to take us through some of the questions that we have for you. Abdullah. Sorry, you're talking, but your mic is off.
Yeah, my bad. I'm over excited, I guess. I was saying I'm already inspired, and I'm inspired, and the show even haven't started. Yeah. Thank you very much. One of the few questions we have is what kind of mindset and values do Gambians need to cultivate? Do Gambians need to cultivate to achieve individual and national prosperity? And then how can this be fostered within families, communities, and the education system as well?
As a people, like any other people, we are somehow okay, and guided by values and standards. Um, because for me, the very purpose of a human being, um, you know, is how do you advance the progress, the freedom, the security of fellow human beings, bearing in mind that you enjoyed that from society. When we were all born, um, as little infants, not knowing, the time and the, space in which we found ourselves, from our parents, from our mother, from our father, and from our family, and they took care of us. Yes, they gave us protection. Just look at how we take care of the baby, and the baby is born, how we wrap the baby in a piece of cloth to give that baby protection, to give that baby warm. That's a big lesson that we got to learn. I mean, how we take care of that baby, whether feeding that baby or cleaning that baby and so on. And then how we come to celebrate after 7 days the life of that baby. And imagine all the care and attention that is given to that baby by everyone in the home, in the family, in society, to protect him or her from harm, to teach him or her how to walk, how to talk, so when you consider all of that, it tells you then what is the purpose of a human being, really? Um, because if they had left us at that level, at that point, you wouldn't have survived. If they had thrown you in the forest to live with lions, and luckily, if lions did not eat you, what is going to happen is you will not develop as a human being. You will develop like a lion or a monkey. All right. You will eat raw meat. You will not be able to put dress clothes on yourself. You will not be able to speak a human language because you are living with monkeys. You are living with animals. But because you and I now we speak a human language, we understand each other as it is because we live with human beings. You and I cannot create this language. We found this language here. you know. So that even if you say, I have an ambition to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to be a technician, and to be a scientist, it is not that you are the first scientist. It is not that you invented that idea. You already found in your society scientists, lawyers, people doing work that you may not even classify. So practically, you came and found everything catered for you. You came and found everything catered for you, um, and you took advantage of it. You've been supported by everyone. You've been guided to the point that today you found yourself in the university in Morocco. You can say, because I'm intelligent, I passed my exams. All right. So no, you pass your exams because people made you pass your exams. It is not all up to your individual imagination and creation and invention and effort. So which means the purpose of a human being is to be humble and to be grateful. Yes, to realize that whatever I know, whatever I do, I can do. I did not create it. I mean, imagine Sir Isaac Newton. He said, was a scientist. All right, but if Sir Isaac Newton, as I said, was thrown to grow with the monkeys, Sir Isaac Newton wouldn't have been able to create, the law of relativity. I think he created that. All right, but he was able to have that idea of observation, of inquiry, of knowledge, because he lived with human society. So people give us everything we have. People give us everything we know. Otherwise, if it is just imagination, individual imagination, I'm sure lions would have built buildings on their own, and not to live under the rain, and monkeys would not be climbing trees. They would have built their own houses also and live there, but they cannot, because their society don't have that capacity, that capability. But human beings are able to do that. And you already found human beings building a house. So even if you build a 1,000-story building today, you said the architect, Abla Bojan designed a 1,000-story building. It is not entirely your, effort. It is because you already found human beings build a one-story building, a two-story building. So you just extended human progress by adding 1,000 stories. If you invented a mobile phone, it is not like you are the most intelligent, to create a mobile phone for communication. You already found human beings using drums to communicate, using fire to communicate. So you just extended, that dimension of communication to another level, thanks to your being with human beings, your presence with human beings. So this is something we need to make our young people, we need to make our society understand, so that we get to understand ourselves when we say, Madi Jobarteh or Asatu Job or Abdullah Bojo. So who are you? What are you really? What should be your role? What should be your mission in this society? Should we live like a parasite in this society, that you benefit from all of this, and then at the end of the day you sit somewhere and just to care for only yourself? Or would you realize that, look, I have to go back and give to this society? And many ways to give back to the society. And one of them is to hold a platform like this, a Bantaba like this, to share ideas and knowledge and so on. So we need to develop the mindset of our people. And this mindset, you realize we are also helped by many other elements, whether it's religion. You go and read our religious texts, whether it's the Holy Bible or the Holy Quran, you will see values. It tells you what you should not do, what you should do, as a human being, to be a good human being. It tells you don't be a bad human being, don't be a parasite, don't be ungrateful. That is what the religions, for me, that is what they teach at the end of the day. So when we do everything else, it is telling you, how do you be a good human being? Don't harm, don't discriminate, don't cheat, don't lie. It is there. But apart from the religious text, you go to our culture, our cultural beliefs, whether it's Fula, Jola, Mandinka, whatever, you'll see, messages there, guidelines, principles expressing how you should be a good human being. Huh? the word of say nitai garabam. That is deep. That is deep. When there's a nitai garabam, you know. So you need to, that alone is a whole subject of interrogation, of discussion, to get to understand what is the meaning of that really. But for me, at the end of the day, it will just show, it is to tell you, look, be humble, be grateful. Yes, don't be ungrateful. Yes. If for me, if a human being, two principles are very critical: humility and gratefulness, gratitude. you know. So it is there in our cultures. But even if you go to our laws, open the constitution of the Gambia or any law in the Gambia, you will see guidelines. Don't be corrupt, don't torture, you know, um, you know, share your opinion, you know, speak the truth, be honest. These are the values you will find in our laws. So, when we get to understand all of this, you realize nation building, probably the first and foremost, is the mindset, really. The mindset. How do we create a mindset that will make us humble people, grateful people, hardworking people, responsible, and constructive people? So that if you all are, within that framework, then nation building would be easy, would be quick, would be solid, because we are not anymore going to have corrupt people. Yes, anyone who is corrupt, you are ungrateful, you are not humble. You are not going to have people abusing office. If you because right now, if you ask any Gambian, who likes lying and cheating? Nobody likes lying and cheating. I doubt, anyway, somebody say, oh, me, I like stealing. No, because we are supposed to have esteem. Esteem. How do you perceive yourself? If you ask me, man, how do you perceive yourself? I'm a good man. I'm an honest man, an honorable man. If I ask her to, how do you see yourself? Who are you? I'm an honorable, woman. Because you want to have a positive view of yourself. That is esteem. So, but why would you steal? If you claim you have esteem, if you go around the Gambia and ask everyone, do you have self-esteem? Oh yes, I have self-esteem. So if you have self-esteem, why do you lie? Someone who has self-esteem will not lie, because if you lie, it means you are saying I'm a liar. If you have self-esteem, you will not be corrupt, because it means you are saying I'm a corrupt person, and nobody wants to be corrupt. So even when we look at the issue of the Gambia, all the the violations that happen, all the rape. Take a rapist, he will tell you I'm a good man, but why do you rape? Yes, if you have self-esteem, you will not rape. Yes, because you are not supposed to harm another human being. You will not be corrupt. You will not torture. So for me, anyone who violates the law, because that's what we do, you violate the law, you violate the religious guidelines, the commandments, you violate them. But you call yourself you're a good Muslim, you call yourself you're a good Christian, you said you are a good citizen. Then why do you violate the Constitution? It means you don't have self-esteem. Because if you have self-esteem, you will not violate the Constitution. You will not violate the laws of the land. You will not violate the holy books. You will not violate the word of God. You will not violate your cultural values. So, we need to build this mindset in our people, so that we build a better society. And I think this is where we are failing. And because of this failure to build this mindset, in our people, in fact, we don't only fail to build the mindset, but we go to promote the opposite. We celebrate corruption. We celebrate, evil. We celebrate violations, because we don't hold those people, each other, to account. Whether it's within Gazam as an organization, or as the Gambia as a society in the home, we should hold each other to account. Whether it is my father or my mother or brother or sister or friend, We should hold each other to account because, as I said, the very essence of being a human being really um, is to pursue the good of society. And that means the humility, the gratitude, the honesty, to uphold those values. That is the whole essence of of a human being. Why are we here? For me, that is the way I see it. All right. So that it is not only to build this mindset, but what we are doing in the Gambia, we are promoting what is contrary to this mindset, and that is for me what accounts for the challenges we have in our country today, and one can say for many other countries also, because when you look at the Gambia with this kind of mindset, there cannot be poverty, because poverty is a manifestation of injustice. It's a manifestation of inequality. It's a manifestation of discrimination. So if you build a mindset of equality, of freedom, of justice, of honesty, how can there be a poor person? You look at our constitution, there's nowhere it says this group of Gambians should be poor people, this group of Gambians should be rich. The intention of our constitution, when I read the constitution, anytime I read it, the intention, what I see is it wants all Gambians to have self-esteem. It wants all Gambians to live decent lives, to live in freedom, to live in security, to live to have opportunities, to live a high standard of living. That is what I see in the Constitution. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution that gives the impression that some people should be poor, some people should be tortured, some people should be suffering, and others should be up there. I don't see that. When I read the Holy Bible or when I read the Holy Quran, I don't see where it also says some people should suffer. No. It are all telling us, if we uphold these values, we should all prosper. We should all prosper. We should all be living justice and security here and in the hereafter. So when we see therefore this poverty in this country, the inequality, the injustice that is widespread in the Gambia. Today everybody is celebrating independence, 59 years. 59 years. You look at the Gambia. Does it look like a country that is independent for 59 years? To me, it does not. Really. When I look at the Gambia, I see unlimited resources. Yes, unlimited opportunities. I always say the River Gambia alone is enough to make the Gambia one of the most advanced countries in the world. Because in the River Gambia, we have water to drink. We have water to irrigate our farms. We have a river to get us food. It is rich in marine resources. It is a river we can use for tourism, to earn us income, to create jobs. It is a river we can use for sports. It is a river we can use for transportation. You take the River Gambia, anywhere you bank, you stop, you don't have more than the farthest distance is 40 kilometers, you are in your destination on land. In some places, it is only 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers. So with River Gambia, it becomes an artery that is connecting everywhere in the country. So which means our security. River Gambia provides us our security. But it is lying there, underutilized, seriously underutilized. And we are in hunger, we are in poverty, we are in unemployment. So it comes back to me to say the mindset. Yes, the mindset of the people are very poor. The poverty of the mind. That is what we suffer from. So the land of the Gambia, the sunlight of the Gambia, you go to other countries, you see solar panels, like kilometers of solar panels. And they are getting electricity from it. We have sunlight 24/7, 365 days in the year. And the sunlight is not any use, only to burn our skin. We are not making use of the sunlight. The wind that is blowing over the Gambia is wind that can be harnessed to provide us electricity. Not to mention our ocean. All right. So who says Gambia is a poor country? That alone is a mindset problem. Yes, it means not the Gambia is poor, your mind is poor because you are sitting on a mountain of wealth and you are in poverty, hungry and thirsty, and you are lamenting that your home is poor. No, your home is not poor. It's your mind that is poor. So, how do we build that mindset that we see the Gambia as wealth? Gambia is wealth. We shouldn't have programs called poverty reduction program. No, we should be talking about wealth creation programs. But you have a whole government sit down in a big meeting in Carabao Hotel and they said poverty reduction program. I mean, what is the matter with us? That's a mindset problem. We should be talking about wealth creation. So because of that poor mindset is why today we cannot feed ourselves. Isn't that ridiculous? A whole people, a human being who cannot feed himself or herself, a whole society. You know, imagine the number of cattle in the Gambia. We could have been producing all sorts of milk to turn it into all sorts of products you can imagine. Vegetables, fruits, anything can grow. Yet we cannot feed ourselves. You walk around, you buy oranges you are going to buy most of the time in the supermarkets is foreign orange. The potato you are going to buy is foreign potato, foreign onion. And then you have this vast land, arable land. Gambia is one country, it is so rocky. Yeah. From Banjul to Basse to Fatoto, every inch of the land is fertile. Is soft soil that can grow things. You are in Morocco. Look at the mountains in Morocco. The rocks in Morocco. What can you grow there? How can you climb those mountains and those rocks? All right. But imagine, look at how they are, managing to overcome those mountains and those rocks. And we don't have that here. So imagine they need to build a road in Morocco to cut a mountain down, to put a hole inside the mountain, a tunnel. I mean, how much cost is that? How much time is that? How much effort is that? In our case, there's no mountain to cut. And we cannot build the necessary infrastructure. Why? Because of the mindset. So this is the tragedy that we face. So that on a day like today, that our people sit down to say they are celebrating 59 years of independence, they really need to think about really what independence are we talking about? Whose independence? For who? Really? I mean, look at a country like Singapore. They gained independence in September 1965. So we are even older than Singapore. September 1965. Within 3 decades, by 1990, Singapore had already entered first world category. They became one of the most advanced countries in the world. Singapore. Why? Because of one, leadership. Leadership with the right mindset. Yeah. The mindset that we will survive. A mindset that we will prosper. A mindset that, we will grow. So just like the Gambia, Singapore was also considered an improbable nation in 1965. Tiny country. Unlike the Gambia, it doesn't have much arable land. Unlike the Gambia, it is equally small like the Gambia. It is also multicultural, multi-religious like the Gambia. But unlike the Gambia, it is situated in a very contentious region, dominated by big countries, China, Malaysia, countries like that. And so, what do? But with the right mindset at the first instance of independence, a mindset that tells them, look, we have to make it in the shortest time possible. And that is, how do we make sure we invest in our people? How do we harness the potentials of our people. So the first leaders of Singapore, that is what they dedicated themselves to invest in their people, to look at the country, understand the situation of the country, to look at the global dynamics and everything, and say, how do we take advantage of all of this situation and make it? But also, how do we establish a system which is guided by law, which is guided by meritocracy, is based on merit, all right, which is guided by to serve the public interest regardless. That's the mindset the leadership had. So they were law abiding, they created institutions, they make sure people perform, that you enter public service based on merit, not nepotism or favoritism or tribalism or all these kind of things, but based on merit, your skills, your knowledge, your capability. And so within 3 decades, by 1990, Singapore was already a first world country. I mean, imagine the Gambia in 1990. We were receiving food aid, from USAID, from the US, from Europe, you know, international NGOs, like Action Aid, giving milk, food, crack wheat to people in the school so that children can go to school, can stay in school. No roads, you can count how many schools, how many hospitals. Widespread poverty, deprivation by 1990. It was a horrible situation in the Gambia at the time. The country highly indebted. By that time, even the IMF came to, say that your loans are so much you cannot pay them. We'll have to take control of your economy. It was a mess. But by that time, Singapore was, completely out of IMF control or IMF attention, because they managed themselves well, because they had the right mindset. They had the right mindset. And we sit here today, 59 years. One, because of the lack of mindset, we don't have the right leadership. That is a leadership that is committed to the law, to uphold the law, to abide by the rule of law. Because you don't have a leadership that is humble, you don't have a leadership that is honest, you don't have a leadership that is grateful. So therefore they can disregard, they can flout the law as they want. And that is what is happening. Since independence, especially since 1994 to date. And so because of that lack of mindset, you can loot, you can corrupt, you get corrupt, you loot, public resources, you loot from the people. And then you refuse to apply the law. Let us look. And this is not something, my opinion. This is not my opinion. This is facts established in Gambia government reports. Go and read Gambia government reports, assessment reports, evaluation reports. Go and read Commission of Inquiry reports. Look at the TRRC report. You can see we had a leadership that had no commitment to the law, no commitment to public interest, and willing to abuse and loot the country. Look at the Janneh Commission report. I did not write these reports, but look at the Auditor General's reports. It is very obvious that the mindset of the leadership in the Gambia is to loot the Gambia, is to harm the Gambia, is to deny Gambian citizens their rights and their needs. It's evident. Look at National Assembly reports. You go and read the Pack and Peck report of the National Assembly. It will tell you clearly how public resources have been plundered, have been wasted. Public institutions, because if you have a private leadership, like in Singapore, which is based on merit, and you have to justify your holding public office by performing. Now, look at the quality of public services in the Gambia. The institutions, the officials delivering public service, are they delivering quality public service, efficient public service? Take electricity, for example. For how many decades we have NAWEC? Until today, you cannot ensure, guarantee 24 hours electricity supply across the country. Water supply, look at the education sector, sports, energy, healthcare, transportation, agriculture, the forest, natural resources, any sector where services must be delivered to Gambians, you realize it's all substandard, poor performance. They don't deliver. But at the end of the day, when you look at the budget, what is prominent is the big salaries, the big fat allowances, the big fat incentives. So it tells you the mindset of the leadership of public institutions that you are not delivering, you are not performing, but you want to pay yourself more. You want to give yourself more. You are not giving more, but you want to take more. You see, it's a mindset problem. And you want to do that with pride. You are very proud of that. That I'm, government should give me a vehicle. Government should give me a vehicle. I should have a fridge in my office. I should have a television, in my office. I should have sofa and carpet in my office. I should travel. And you're not just thinking, but this is paid by the people. Look at the taxes, they are so high. Look at the loans we are taking in the name of the people, the grants we receive in the name of the people. It doesn't go back to the people, but we are here giving ourselves all these allowances and incentives and materials. So you have no shame, you have no fear. So mindset. So we have a wrong mindset. You go to agriculture, you cannot count how many projects, loans and grants put into agriculture. And at the end of the day, what do those projects deliver? How do they perform? It's poor. So it's a mindset thing. And so we need to change this mindset. And as I said, a country like Singapore, they had the right mindset. A leadership that first and foremost understands their role, their duty. What is to be a leader? You sit down to ask yourself, if I'm the president, what does it mean to be a president? What does it mean to be a minister? What does it mean to be a director? What does it mean to be a police officer? To be a judge, to be a nurse at Edward Francis Moore Teaching Hospital? What does it mean to be a teacher? You see, public officials need to ask themselves that. It's a mindset thing. What does it mean to be a public officer? So that when you interrogate that, you realize that if you're a public officer, practically, you hold the lives of citizens in your hands. The life and death of citizens is in your hands if you're a public officer, whether a president, a National Assembly member, a judge, a teacher, a nurse. Yes. Imagine you're a teacher. Just imagine, because we need to put this in our teacher training so teachers understand. Imagine you're a teacher teaching primary 1, grade 1. You don't go to school on time. Or you go to school on time, you spend 30 minutes, 1 hour, on your phone or drinking atay or chatting somewhere. And school children have number of contact hours. So you are losing those contact hours. And those contact hours are set based on the curriculum, based on the syllabus. So meaning if you are late for 1 hour, you have taken something from that syllabus, from that curriculum. What that means is the children are denied the substance that should be given to them during that 1 hour. So if that child is in grade 1, denied that 1 hour worth of teaching, it means that child is limited. By the time he went to grade 2, some teachers, when schools close, summer holiday, school close, 1 week you don't report to your post. And time is going. But because of that limitation, that denial of that child, of that right to education, that 1 hour, she goes to grade two, she loses another 1 hour, 2 hours in grade two, she goes to grade three, loses another 2 hours, grade four and grade five and grade six until university. That child who now graduates from the university is still limited because she doesn't have the full complement of the learning and teaching she should have as her right to build her into a solid, intellectual, into a solid technocrat. So because of that, somebody can lose a job, may not get a job because you don't know enough. So that is what it means. As a teacher, you hold the future of our children in your hands. So that's a mindset you should have, that look, every minute I should give it to these children. Every minute. But imagine you are also a National Assembly member. The national budget is provided to you, and the estimates are brought to you. You allocate to, let's say, health. Now, you as a National Assembly member, have you sat down to look at what is obtaining at Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, or at Fatoto Health Center, or at Serekunda Hospital? What is required there? What do you know? As your job, you should know. So that when you allocate, you are really allocating to serve the needs of the people. But you don't do that. You give allocations. You go to Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital today, you will realize that they don't have enough X-ray machines. They don't have enough MRI machines. They don't have enough, scanners and so on. If they are broken down, not repaired. But you, the National Assembly member, you are the one who allocated that money to those people. Realizing that if you fail to provide the adequate materials for those people, a woman is coming there to die at childbirth simply because the facilities are not available. A Gambian is coming there with a disease because the equipment are not there. That Gambian would not be diagnosed properly. They would not know what is wrong with him, and that person goes home and dies. How many times do you hear Gambian say, I went to the hospital, all over the place. They said nothing is wrong with me, but you are still sick. You are still sick. You go to hospital there, no, we have not seen anything. Because you don't have the right equipment. And that's why I said you should make sure the right equipment is in the hospital. And that Gambian goes home and dies. You as a National Assembly member, you killed that child. You killed that man. But not just to allocate to the Ministry of Health, but to make sure the Ministry of Health, when they bring the budget and say we are going to do this, you go and monitor and make sure it does. Because National Assembly has an oversight function. You go and check whether actually these equipment are provided and they are working and they are serving the people. But even if you are not a National Assembly member, imagine you are the Minister of Health, you are the Director of Health Services, you are a nurse. It is the same responsibility. The decisions you make to perform determines whether somebody will survive or somebody will die. It's as simple as that. So we need to create this mindset in our public officials to realize, look, understand the meaning of your work. The decisions, the actions you make can kill somebody, but it can create, a huge future for somebody. Yes. We were here, the TRRC report, they showed it. Imagine you are an NIA officer, a police officer, they said, go and arrest this person. According to the law, you are not supposed to arrest this person because the person hasn't done anything. But the politician is making you go and arrest a citizen because that citizen is criticizing the politician. You arrest that person, and in the process, the person dies. Your decision, your action to go and arrest that person, but the one above you giving you that order, you have killed somebody. You arrest somebody, you detain the person, days, weeks, months, years. The TRRC report, how many people disappeared that we never came to see? Chief Mane, for example, Kanyiba Kanyi, for example. So it tells you, as a public officer, the decisions you make, the actions you take can make or break a person, and therefore can damage the society.
Exactly.
This is the reality. We need to make our people understand so that they develop a mindset, And today, when you talk about countries like Singapore, why they are progressing, or a country like Japan, why they are progressing, is because of the mindset. Yes, it is just nothing other than mindset. They have the proper mindset. Their mindset is in the proper place. That as an individual, as a citizen, they know their rights and their duties, and they are ready to stand on that. And as public officials, they know their duties, their obligations, and they are ready to perform their obligations. So, the Gambian public official, do you understand your obligations? Do you understand the meaning of your public obligations? What those obligations, fulfilling them or failing them or abusing them, do you know what it could lead to? So this is the mindset we got to give to our people if we are going to build a better society. But for me, 59 years is 59 years of misery, of hardship, of scam, of corruption, of shame. So as a Gambian, I'm ashamed that today I call 59th anniversary of our independence because I don't see what we can show for it. So I'll stop here in case you have any questions, but I hope you find the conversation useful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Jawad. I believe most of our questions are already answered, and I believe you have given us one of the best explanations that we could have actually had. And I believe this is a great opportunity for all of us, especially as students and youth who are going to be giving back to the Gambia one day. And just to give a reminder to all of viewers out there, this is the second episode of the Gassam Special Bantaba, and our theme today is building a prosperous Gambia by developing the right mindset and giving back to society. Now, when we talk about giving back to society, Mr. Jabati, our next question is what are the hopes and aspirations for the future of the Gambia? What needs to happen to make our vision a reality and give back to our society?
Well, I can only give my vision, my aspiration, and indeed, I wish the best for the Gambia. That is, I wish for a Gambia that is democratic, that is peaceful, that is just, and that is equal, in which the government upholds the rule of law and demonstrates the political will and commitment to the best interests of the people. In a Gambia where citizens realize that to be a citizen is to have rights and duties, and understanding that, therefore, to make sure we exercise our rights to the fullest and we fulfill our duties to the fullest. Um, Now, of course, you will find many Gambians with their visions and aspirations for the Gambia, but we also know the Gambia government has, in many times, expressed its vision and aspiration for the Gambia. Whether it is what they put together as national development plans. Jawara had his national development plans, and those development plans they embody the vision and aspiration the government has, for the country. And so Jawara's days, we had national development plans, 5-year development plans, and they even had a mantra, a slogan called Tecito at that time, that we should all tie our waist, literally speaking, but, do our utmost best to make sure we develop this country. Um, when Jawara left, we know we have Jammeh has a lot of visions and aspirations that he has expressed. That was the Vision 2020, for example, and they have a very lofty vision to make Gambia a middle-income country, a democratic country in which the government is the will of the people. All right, lofty, a very nice vision for that matter. And then they had various development plans, PRSP, they call it, poverty reduction strategy paper. I mean, they had strategy for poverty alleviation (SPA). They had page, poverty program for accelerated growth and employment. They had all of those kind of fanciful names. We then he had other things: grow what you eat what you grow. Jame had all those fanciful visions and aspirations, which are beautiful in name. But at the end of the day, after 22 years, he left the country more hungry, more poor, more indebted, and more deprived than ever. All right, and now we are seeing another new dispensation under Barrow, and again they came up with what they call the National Development Plan, and today they even call it Yilwa, which is also another beautiful vision, aspiration. And when you read it, you can see all the pillars down there, all the objectives, which are lofty, as they are written on paper. But like Jawara, like Jammeh, and now we have Barrow, we will not achieve any vision, we will not achieve any aspiration until we have leadership with the right mindset. You know, until we have leadership with the right mindset. And the right mindset is that to declare and to take action on commitment to the best interests of the people. That you will abide by the rule of law. That you will perform and deliver to produce results. Now, that kind of leadership, that kind of mindset is what will transform this country. So are we going to have leaders who would say, look, I am committed to nothing other than the best interests of Gambians and the Gambia? That I will uphold the constitution and the laws of the Gambia, which protect the rights of Gambians and require that you perform your functions. If you go to our constitution, section 1, subsection 2, it says the sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia. And the government and all its organs derive their authority from the people, and for whom they perform their functions on behalf of and for the welfare and the prosperity of the Gambian people. Now, do you have a mindset committed to this constitutional provision that you swear to uphold? So, I have my vision, as I said, and my aspirations, and this is why I do what I do. That is to stand up, to speak up on issues of human rights, rule of law, democracy, and good governance. Because I know when we secure that is how we are going to produce sustainable development that is going to give us a high standard of living in the Gambia. All right. Now, is that what the rest of Gambians, you and me, is that what we share? The government itself has expressed its vision and aspirations in its various plans. Are they living up to that vision and aspiration that they have expressed? So far, 59 years after independence, that kind of government has not emerged yet in the Gambia. So that is a matter for citizens to look at, to be concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jobarteh. That is well answered. The session is really fruitful. And to our viewers, this is the second episode of the Bantaba. We are here with Mr. Madi Jobarteh, and yeah, it has been great so far. Yeah. I wanted to comment earlier on what you said about the winning mindset. I think that is very important. Like Gambia, I think one of our problem is like we kind of what the kind of problem is like you said earlier, it's a mindset problem. I think that is very interesting because like most of us, like we don't think as a nation, we just think of what can I achieve as an individual and then leave the whole country behind. And as well, Gambia also is very rich in terms of resources, but we don't most Gambians are not comfortable being in Gambia. All comes to mindset because we all believe that we cannot make it in Gambia. There is nothing in Gambia for us, and then we cannot make it at all. Um, moving forward, one of the questions we have is how can we create an environment? How can we create an environment that fosters collaboration and innovation for a prosperous Gambia?
Say that again.
Um, how can we create an environment that fosters collaboration and innovation for a prosperous Gambia?
Um, so collaboration and innovation
Mhm.
should be um, how do I say this? Should be a natural phenomenon, um, but also a requirement, um, for national development. Um, at the end of the day, we are all citizens, okay, but again, we are citizens who are constituted into various sectors, whether um, we are in institutions, we've established institutions, organizations, in the public sector, in the private sector, in the civil society. And of course, all of these institutions, organizations, associations, groups have their various focus areas and mandates. But at the same time, they are all also required to collaborate to achieve their mandates, their objectives, because these are not things that are antagonistic or contrary to one another. So, for example, if you are working with farmers, you are a farmer organization, or you are the Minister of Agriculture, it doesn't mean education does not matter. It's not relevant. You realize that there is a need for a lot of collaboration between agriculture and education, or between education and healthcare, or between sports and agriculture, or between sports and security, and so on and so forth. But also, as organizations, civil society organizations, we can collaborate a lot. Either for this specific issue or for that specific issue. So, for example, in the civil society, you have organizations focused on healthcare, on agriculture, on education. Now, you may be a health organization, so agriculture may not be an area you have much knowledge and skills, but you realize that you may need to collaborate with agriculture organizations in order to pursue policy issues, all right, in order to pursue accountability, in order to pursue the efficiency, effectiveness of institutions, public institutions, for example. So in that area, you realize that you are going to collaborate. So at all times, there is always need for collaboration. And of course, the work that we do, as we do this work, you will realize that the dynamics are changing, the environment is changing, new ideas are coming, new skills are coming, new tools are coming. So it will require that not to be overtaken by time or boredom or to be left behind. That we will have to also innovate, innovate tools, innovate ideas, innovate mechanisms of whatever, innovate approaches, bring innovative actions and so on in order to ensure that at the end of the day, we are maintaining standards, that we are above the game, that we are on top of our toes, and we are really achieving results. So I would say innovation and collaboration are indispensable.
Mm, exactly. Thank you very much. I said, do you have anything to add into that?
Sorry. Thank you so much. I believe since we are almost out of time, we can just go with the last question, right? Then
Okay.
maybe if we have any question from the audience. And
Okay.
the next question here we have is, what role does ethical leadership play in building a prosperous Gambia? How can ethical leadership be encouraged and rewarded?
Yeah, I'm happy you use that phrase, ethical leadership. Um, I can agree more. on the need, the importance, the necessity for ethical leadership. Um, so that when we say ethical leadership, is leadership that is guided by acting upon and um, performing according to ethics. And ethics here is about values and standards that are established in order to ensure a transparent and accountable and a fair and a just system. And that um, cannot be overemphasized. And when one looks at it even very deeply, at the end of the day, that has been the major challenge in the Gambia: the creation, the establishment, the maintenance of ethical leadership across board. So, ethical leadership is very important because what it does is um, it it serves to uphold the law. Um, and by upholding the law, it naturally means it is committed to accountability. And if you are committed to accountability, what that means, you generate performance. Because if people are going to be held to account, accountability is taking responsibility for your actions and the outcomes of your actions and decisions. So, therefore, if there is accountability, naturally people will perform, institutions will perform. And when people perform, institutions perform, what that means is quality services will be delivered, right decisions will be taken. And when that happens, the quality services are delivered, it creates opportunities, it makes people enjoy services, their rights. And so when people are enjoying their rights, they are gaining services, they are obtaining opportunities, they enjoy the peace and security that they deserve, people begin to have trust in the leadership. So ethical leadership, therefore, at the end of the day, is a cycle that comes back to, uh, support the leadership itself, because people now begin to have trust and confidence in that leadership. Because the moment there is no ethical leadership, the result of that is the law is not followed. Because without ethics, it means you don't care about law, you don't care about justice, you don't care about right and wrong. So unethical leadership, that is what it produces. So since laws are not no more important, all right, it means there is a carefree situation because there's no accountability. Because law is what establishes the terms of accountability. So if that law is disregarded, it means there's no accountability. So if there's no accountability, like all human beings, if I'm not going to be held to account, I can do anything I want. I cannot do anything. So if that happens, it means public institutions will not perform. Services will not be delivered. If services are delivered, they will be erratic, expensive. They will not be available for everyone, which is the current situation of the Gambia. So when that happens, it can only produce hardship for the people, high cost of living, corruption, and that creates frustration. And that is why you would have people mistrust the leadership. They don't have confidence in the leadership. So anything that leader says, they don't believe it. Anything the government does, they don't believe it. So this shows you the importance of ethical leadership. And that is what we need. That mindset of ethical leadership is what we require. So to make sure that ethical leadership exists and persists forever, it also rests on itself. Because first and foremost, you have to have leaders who self-consciously believe in ethical leadership. Yes. Because already our constitution and laws of the Gambia, they have established all the terms for ethical leadership. Because the constitution has set the authority of the government, the powers of the government, but it has also put in place checks and balances. Because the intention is to make sure there is ethical leadership, that decision making and actions are in line with the law and with certain values and standards. So, how do we reward it? Is to um, make sure that it exists and to reward them um, by providing the justified legal remuneration that they should have. That's all. I mean, you and I can sit there and say, thank you, Mr. President. Fine. We can thank the minister, we can thank the governor, I mean, and so on. All right. But for me, the best reward is we would have respect for them. We would have respect for them. We would recognize them. We would appreciate them. Not to mention the fact that at the end of the day, you are still paid. You are paid a salary. So we've paid you. We've rewarded you. For something that by law is what you are supposed to do, to be ethical. But in addition to that, it is for us to respect you. So that when you look at our society, when you look across many societies, you wonder how many leaders have respect from the people. You realize it's very few because people know these are not ethical leaders. So people have very limited respect for them. So if you're an individual, if you're a leader, you have to realize it is in your best interest that you deliver ethical leadership. Not just because, of course, you will be paid and then, of course, you will be recognized or respected, but it is also in your own security because if you don't provide ethical leadership, what means is you are going to provide corrupt and inefficient leadership. And when you deliver corrupt and inefficient leadership, you are threatening your own security sooner or later. Because one day you will be held to account. Look at Jammeh. Today he's sitting in a foreign country, in a tiny foreign country, thousands of kilometers from home. And who speaks good name of Jammeh? All right. And of course, all efforts are on the ground to make sure he goes to court to be prosecuted. Why? Because you did not provide ethical leadership. So that when you look at it, in the long term, in another sense, it just tells you, let me provide ethical leadership also for my own security. So maybe you should forget about what reward I get, but in your best interest, let me provide ethical leadership so that I secure my own security, my own safety, my own legacy. Because contrary, if you fail to do so, you will now have to pay a heavy price for being unethical as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe that's a perfect explanation of ethical leadership. And Abdallah, can you take us through the questions and we can try to wrap it up?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we only have currently we only have a question from. Okay, we have a couple. Okay, so currently we have one from Ermalin Noy. So he said, what role does our religion play? What role does our religion play in all of this? Speaking about mindset,
Yeah,
I think so.
religion plays a huge role. You know, religion plays a huge role because a religion is an ethics-based, a moral-based phenomenon, which is necessary for human beings, for society, um, to realize our purpose, to realize our objectives, to realize, you know, uh, um, who we are. All right. So that when you look at the scriptures, in our context, the Bible and the Quran, you definitely would see, the necessary values and standards urging you to be a good human being, a good public officer, a good man, a good woman, a good wife and a good husband, a good brother and a good sister. So whatever of your station in life, you will find in these scriptures, telling you, giving you guidance, giving you guidelines, all right, upon which to stand, so that if you are familiar with this religious text and as a believer and you claim to be a believer, you uphold these religions, you naturally would become an ethical leader because by your religion, uh, Islam or Christianity, it will let you know that you have to be just, you have to be fair, you have to be honest, you cannot be corrupt, you cannot torture, you should not kill. All right. And so that just highlights indeed the importance, the necessity of religion. It's also fortunate in our society, and I guess across many parts of the world, we claim these religions, we claim to be believers, but we act in the opposite. So that when you look at the country like Gambia, we said it's predominantly Muslim and Christian. For me, as far as I know, Islam is incompatible with injustice. Islam cannot live with injustice. A Muslim majority, a Muslim person, the Ummah cannot live with poverty. Islam is incompatible with poverty. Islam is incompatible with discrimination. All right. Islam is incompatible with, evil, whether it is in the form of torture or corruption or misuse of public office and so on and so forth. So that when you look at that in a society where majority claim to be Muslims and Christians, yet the incidence of injustice, of discrimination, of corruption is widespread. So it tells me uh, these people are not utilizing their religion. They are not learning from their religion. They are not living according to the faith that they claim, and this is really tragic. Which is very, very tragic. And so when I look around the Gambia, it tells me it is not a Muslim society. It's not a Christian society. It's not an Islamic society. It's not a Christian society. Because what I see is contrary to Islamic and Christian values. In public office, in our communities, in our homes, which is really, really tragic. So the whole idea of religion, for me, is to build this mindset in our heads, so that with that mindset, because what is a mindset? It is that thing you have in your faculties to guide you in your conduct, in your behavior, in your relationships, in the way you do things. And so, if you and I have been socialized, born into Muslim families, into Christian families, and socialized in those families until adulthood, and still we cannot be just, we are still corrupt. Now, that is a serious matter. And unfortunately, that is the case right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Isaac, can you go through this one?
Well, our second question from the audience is: as the anti-corruption bill has now been passed in the parliament, so can you tell us a little about it, and will there be transparency and accountability during the course?
Yeah, thank you. The anti-corruption bill was passed, I think, last year, late last year, 2023. Um, of course, with huge concerns, because some critical provisions were removed from it, mainly provisions relating to explaining wealth, which for me is the heart of the matter, because anti-corruption is laws aimed at trying to prevent people from using their office to benefit themselves, and in many ways, whether monetary terms or in other ways. And so, one of the ways to detect corruption is to determine how people acquire wealth. So that if you're a public officer, you are getting a salary, and we know what the salary is, and then we see you acquire properties that are beyond the what this salary can afford, then you need to explain to ensure that you did not obtain that wealth in a way that is corruption. If you remove such a provision from the law, that means you have undermined that law, and that is what has happened. And secondly, there is another provision that they removed, which is that the or inserted sort of or kept there is that the anti-corruption commission would have to seek the or consult with the attorney general before they can prosecute someone for corruption. Again, that goes to undermine the independence and the effectiveness of the anti-corruption commission, because they can consult with the attorney general and he could say no, don't prosecute this. So you can cover up corrupt people and corrupt practices through that process. Yeah, but nonetheless, we have the law now, and what is to be done is to create an anti-corruption commission, and which is also a big crisis. I mean, a big issue, because what the concern is, what the interest is, that you create a commission that comprises people of integrity, people that are incorruptible, honest people, so that you have a commission that will be independent and fearless and will be committed to nothing other than the enforcement of that law. So the issue now is who are going to be appointed to be put in that commission. So we are yet to see the creation of the commission, but it is a concern, and I think all citizens need to speak to that issue, to campaign, to raise their voices, to make sure at the end of the day, any persons that are elected, are selected into that commission, are people that we can trust. There will be people who would be ethical in the way they do things. Yeah.
Yeah, that was indeed interesting. To to our viewers, if you have any questions, here is your chance because we are about to conclude. Um, Thank you very much. So, would you mind giving us your closing remarks because it seems we are running out of questions from the
Okay.
viewers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I would close by is to say, um, you know, I don't know whether,
Oh, so sorry.
yeah.
We also had another follow-up question
Okay.
from Noy. I'm so hoping this would be the last one.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so he's saying follow-up question. What about the idea God chooses our leaders for us, so we have to abide by and obey them, whatever they respect them to?
Well, I'm not a religious scholar,
Yeah.
a religious leader,
Is it?
but I have, in my own way, and continue to study religion, not just Islam but other religions. But I'm yet to see in any religious text where God selects leaders for a people. I know God, for example, in the context of Islam, has sent messengers and prophets, and even there, um, he did not order everyone to follow those messengers like the holy prophet, um, but that he sent them with a message to give to people. Those who accept will follow them. Those who don't accept, it's up to them. So, so the idea that God selects leaders, I don't think, to me, that is Islam, or any religion for that matter. Um, so I think the people select their leaders on their own, and we have created the necessary instruments and institutions for that process. We have laws in place. We have bodies like the electoral commissions to manage elections, so that we select our own leaders, and we are supposed to hold those leaders to account. But having said that, I think, as far as I can remember in my study of Islam, God has spoken to the issue of leaders also, how leaders should look over the people they govern or they lead, and the responsibilities that they have, and that He will also hold them to account for how they lead their people. So our leaders must understand that to lead a people would still be part of worship, and so how well you lead the people or not, that you will also be held to account for that one day. So if you lead in a way that you kill people, you steal from people, Surely by that act of killing and stealing from people and tormenting your people, I'm sure you'll be held accountable for that on the day of judgment. Yeah, but I don't think God selects leaders for us.
And once again, thank you very much. This really has been a very interesting session. Yeah. So going forward, I believe we can conclude on the topic. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think in conclusion is just to emphasize this issue of mindset. Um, if you've never thought about it or put yourself into it, um, begin to think about really what are your thoughts? What do you know? Try to understand yourself as a human being and ask yourself the question, what is the purpose of a human being? Really. I'm sure one can go into the Holy Quran or the Holy Book or other religious texts and they will tell you what is the purpose of a human being. But from a secular point of view, as a citizen on this earth right now, and in the context of the Gambia, I mean, I define my purpose in terms of, my citizenship based on my constitution, and the, fact that the Gambia is a republic in which I am. And so what is required of a person, in a republic like the Gambia? So that when we do that exercise, we will come to realize that, our purpose as Gambians, as citizens, is to recognize that we have rights and duties. And these rights and duties are not for free. It is for us to enjoy the rights because it is in these rights that our development lie. All right. It is in these rights that our needs are addressed, are fulfilled. It is in these rights that we get education and healthcare and security and opportunities, and a better life and a decent human, standard of living. It is these rights that give us that. And the duties are how do we protect these rights? And by protecting these rights, it's about how do we hold the duty bearers, that are supposed to protect and fulfill these rights. As I said, we are a republic, and the Constitution has defined our rights and defined the obligations of the state. And the state, we all surrender our rights to the state to protect us, to serve us. All right. We establish the state, we elect people and appoint people in that state and give them immense power, powers with tools, tools of violence. Imagine the police, the military, we give them weapons, all right, and all to protect our rights. But if you don't hold them to account, if you do not check them, what could happen is they will use those powers, those weapons against us. And again, this is not my opinion. This is can be found in the reports, in Gambia government reports, of how state power, taken from the people and now transformed into weapons against the people through arbitrary arrests, arbitrary detention, enforced disappearance, torture, summary executions, and corruption, and so on and so forth. So, which means when you look at it as a citizen from today, really realize why you have to exercise these rights, why you have to enjoy these rights, and why you have to fulfill that duty of accountability. Because you realize that it is in your own interest today and tomorrow. So I want all citizens to bear this in mind. That at the end of the day, anything that happens, certainly we can say the state has violated this or that. That is not the issue. The issue is, have we made sure that the state is held accountable for its abuse of office, for its abuse of resources, so that it doesn't happen again? Because if you let it to happen to me without, or to you, or to anyone else, and without being repaired immediately and in full, rest assured it will happen to you and the next person and the next person. And we saw that on the journey. All right. That even you got to a point, Inspector General of Police, CDS, ministers, all dumped in mile two because one man just wanted to keep them in mile two because he was not checked, because citizens have failed in the duty to hold him to account. So this is the lesson we got to learn, and to have that mindset that, what is it to be a citizen? So that when we get to understand that and develop that mindset, I think we will create a better Gambia. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Esther, do you have anything to say? Maybe.
No, I just want to say this was indeed an interesting session, and I believe we all have learned a lot and just look forward to implementing everything that we've learned. And thank you once again, Mr. Jobarteh, for accepting our invitation and for giving us such a great session. Over to you, Abdullah. Abdullah, are you with us?
Oh, yeah, I kind of had some network issues. Yeah, thank you very much. I believe this will be all. To our viewers, thank you very much. And for those who've asked their questions, I believe your questions were well answered. And it's been really a great session. And thanks to Mr. Jabati as well. It has really been fruitful, and we are grateful to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.